Oh, you back to Jimmy?
So here's Rand Paul.
Okay, back to Jimmy.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress.
NBC News learning the Department of Energy has concluded COVID-19 likely came from a lab leak in China.
Okay.
Do not retract that statement.
A new report from the U.S. Department of Energy found the virus likely resulted from a lab leak in Wuhan.
Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about.
The head of the FBI in the United States has...
Okay, go back to Steph.
I stand with the Houthis, down with the Zionist regime. Good luck recovering that jet, DOD. And that's from Savage. Thank you, Savage.
Okay, so let's come back to me. Let's watch
to Jimmy.
this.
Dr. Fauci, as you are aware, it is a crime to lie to Congress. Section 1001 of the U.S. Criminal Code creates a felony and a 5-year penalty for lying to Congress. On your last trip to our committee on May 11th, you stated that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And yet, gain-of-function research was done entirely in the Wuhan Institute by Dr. Shi and was funded by the NIH. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the Wuhan virology paper entitled Discovery of a Rich Gene Pool of Bat SARS-Related Coronaviruses. Please deliver a copy of the journal article to Dr. Fauci. In this paper, Dr. Shi credits the NIH and lists the actual number of the grant that she was given by the NIH. In this paper, she took 2 bat coronavirus genes, spike genes, and combined them with a SARS-related backbone to create new viruses that are not found in nature. These lab-created viruses were then shown to replicate in humans. These experiments combine genetic information from different coronaviruses that infect animals, but not humans, to create novel artificial viruses able to infect human cells. Viruses that in nature only infect animals were manipulated in the Wuhan lab to gain the function of infecting humans. This research fits the definition of the research that the NIH said was subject to the pause in 2014 to 2017, a pause in funding on gain of function. But the NIH failed to recognize this, defines it away, and it never came under any scrutiny. Dr. Richard E. Bright, a molecular biologist from Rutgers, described this research in Wuhan as the Wuhan lab used NIH funding to construct novel chimeric SARS-related coronaviruses able to infect human cells and laboratory animals. This is high-risk research that creates new potential pandemic pathogens that exist only in the lab, not in nature. This research matches, these are Dr. E. Bright's words, this research matches, indeed epitomizes, the definition of gain-of-function research, done entirely in Wuhan, for which there was supposed to be a federal pause. Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Microphone.
Your microphone.
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. What?
I like that up and down the chain. What is that? That's talk about a complete made-up term that sounds authoritative. Up and down the chain. Up and down the chain. You mean up and down the chain of people you hired personally, and they owe their
co-conspirators.
And they owe co-conspirator up and down the chain of co-conspirators.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get one person.
Let's read from the NIH definition of gain of function. This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among animals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals, and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
And let's let Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now you're getting into something. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2, that's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well,
we don't
wait
know
a
if it
minute.
did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab,
You-
and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee
resent,
will allow the witness to
I
respond.
totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because if you look at the virus,
Because it wasn't created at Wuhan. We created it right here at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
You do not know what you.
You
I like how
do-
you got sassy.
Yeah, you
Like,
do
Fauci
not
gets
know.
a little passive aggressive.
All right, so over to Steph for a second. I have one more video I want to show you.
Okay. The COVID criminals and war profiteers are the same. They all need to be brought to justice. Peace is the answer. Keep it going. Athabasca. Thank you, Athabasca. Let's see here. Oh, I skipped around. Okay. Sachs forgot to say that the 20 million COVID deaths includes
us to
all the
explore
people the vaccine has killed,
all
plus all the
possibilities.
first that they kept out of the hospital to the last second and then intubated and killed.
Government
Rubber
authorities
toe.
self-interested in continuing
Wilford,
gain-of-function
exit light, enter night, take my hand, we're off to never, never
Say there's-
been. Wilford. COVID-19 was engineered. If you plot the binding
fun-
energy, parentheses, kcal/MOL, end parentheses, between SARS-CoV-2 and ACE2, human lung cell receptor, you find the Ashkenazi Jews are affected least and South Asians the most.
Okay.
Wow.
So here it comes.
Savage. Back to Jim.
So here comes the big one. Let's see if this will play.
SARS virus, and then use this man-made supervirus to infect human airway cells. Think about that for a moment. The SARS virus had a 15% mortality. We're fighting a pandemic that has about a 1% mortality. Can you imagine if a SARS virus that's been juiced up and had viral proteins added to it, to the spike protein, if that were released accidentally? Dr. Fauci, do you still support funding of the NIH funding of the lab in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute
Do they fund
of
Dr.
Virology.
Barrick?
We
Do they fund Dr. Barrick at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill? Now this is the third time Dr. Fauci lied to Congress. The second time I just showed you. The first time Rand Paul quoted in that video. Here's the third time. Hey, are you guys funding the gain of function Dr. Barrick's doing? Here it is.
not fund
You fund
gain.
Dr.
Oh, you son over to stuff. God damn it.
All righty. Hold on, folks. Let's go here. Autonaut,
Not now.
I think it's fair to
Fund
include mortality
funding of
from
the lab in
poverty,
Wuhan.
despair, and injections as the
Okay,
total
come back to
pandemic
me.
death number. Autonaut. Back to Jimmy.
This was easy for me to find, by the way, this video. As
Senator Paul-
I'm hosting the show, I was able to find this video.
All due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute
Do they
of
fund
Virology.
Dr. Barrick?
We do not fund
Do you fund
gain.
Dr. Barrick's gain-of-function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain-of-function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
There it is. He's not doing it. But if he is doing it, it's doing according to the guideline. Well, which is so right there.
In North Carolina,
And he said it right there. He said it, North Carolina. He goes, Dr. Barrick, he's not doing gain of function, but if he is, it's being done according to guideline. Well, which is it? Is he doing gain of function or not? And that didn't make the news. You know what part did make the news? Where Fauci goes, you don't know what you're talking about. But of course, not that part. Not the part where he obviously is lying and obviously contradicted himself. You know who caught it? A Jagoff C student nightclub comedian caught it on YouTube, which is why that my channel is now considered borderline content, because I told the truth about COVID, which is why 95% of my old friends in Hollywood don't talk to me anymore, because I told the truth about COVID, and they're lemmings. And at least they're not corrupt like the news is. The news didn't cover this because they're corrupt. They're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. Sean Hannity's corrupt. Anderson Cooper's corrupt. Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes the nerd, fake tough guy Lawrence O'Donnell, Wolf Blitzer. Of course we know that Fredo Cuomo is corrupt. We know that Don Lemon was corrupt. Of course. They're all corrupt, meaning they're paid off to lie to you. And they didn't talk about this. I knew about this. I was able to find it in 30 seconds as I'm hosting a show. They're never going to show this on the news. They won't show it tonight in the news. After Trump bans gain of function, they're going to make it look like Trump is being anti-science. I guarantee you that's how it's going to be covered tonight on the news.
Aren't you amazed how not classified the plots are? They're not conspiracy because they're not classified. You can find them. You're just not gonna.
Yes. Don't do your own research. That's why they didn't want you to do your own research, because you would find out that Dr. Fauci, the government, was creating a bioweapon called COVID-19. And they were doing it at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Now we have the guy who was the lead guy for the Lancet study group to figure out where the virus came from. And we have the former CDC director saying it came from Ralph Barrick at University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And we have Dr. Fauci completely contradicting himself in Senate testimony, which is a felony. But that's why he needed a blanket pardon. I guarantee you they're going to cover it. I can't wait to see how they cover Trump's executive order banning gain of function. You know they're going to call it conspiracy theory. They're going to show him saying, oh, he said he put bleach. He didn't say any of that stuff. Trump has a lot of flaws. It's amazing that, but the problem is that the establishment and Trump agree on the worst things. So they have to make up stuff about Trump. Isn't it amazing? Trump has a lot of flaws. You don't have to make up stuff to criticize him. Yet they do. ABC News had to pay him $15 million because they lied about him. And they're going to they lied about him, both people, find people on both sides. That was a total lie. They lied when he said you have to inject bleach to fight. That was a total lie. They lied. There wasn't a thing they haven't lied about. Russiagate, 100% lie. And everything they said about, there it is. You want to play? I'll play it again. This is one of the most remarkable pieces of video that surround COVID that I've ever seen, and nobody else talked about it. I didn't see another YouTuber. Maybe Kim Iverson talked about it. Maybe. No other. They still don't talk about it to this day.
Richard Grove did. If I had to bet, Richard Grove's pretty thorough. He picks up this show a lot on his channel.
Oh,
Richard
no
Grove,
kidding.
My rabbi. Yeah, he's great. Grand Theft World. Great podcast. It tells you everything about everything.
Has not ever and does not now fund gain of function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Do they fund
of
Dr.
Virology.
Barrick?
We do not fund.
Do you fund Dr. Barrick's gain of function research?
Dr. Barrett does not doing gain of function research, and if it is, it's according to the guidelines, and it is being conducted in North Carolina.
You don't think inserting
China.
a bat virus spike protein that he got from the Wuhan Institute?
Do you see the guy behind him? That's his aide laughing because they know they just got Fauci lying. But of course, nothing's going to happen.
Well, I think they got him telling the truth because he said it's in North Carolina.
Oh, that's right. But he lied
like,
first.
whoa.
He lied first and said, no, we're not funding it.
What a great plot,
And then he said,
man.
but if we are funding it, he's doing it correctly. What?
Yeah. Boy, the sleight of hand was to keep you focused on China this whole time.
Yes.
It's really, you got to give him credit for this little
Yes.
dog and pony show because it was very effective.
And
You know,
isn't
I
it
like
amazing
trashy
the people
government,
who
but-
are still shitting their pants about COVID, which they're out there. They're all over the place. I know
And they're not going to
people.
look at any evidence about it because they become comfortable shitting their pants
That's
all the
right.
time about COVID.
And they like to.
don't
They
wanna
like
leave
to
that.
shit their pants over it. And then I ask them the next logical question. So if you're still wearing a mask when you go out to concerts, you're still wearing a mask, and when you go into the airport, you're still wearing a mask, and you're still deathly afraid of COVID, and you're still getting your boosters, wouldn't you be angry at the guy we now know created that virus that you say killed millions and millions and millions of people? That's more people than Hitler killed.
But Jimmy, I'm more
But
afraid
wait,
of being
Kurt,
mistaken.
why aren't? But they're not mad at him. They're not angry at the guy who invented the virus that they're still shitting their pants about on a daily basis. They're not angry. Wouldn't it be logical that they would be angry at the guy who created the virus that has completely dominated their life for the last 5 years and they say killed millions of people? But they're not. They don't ever do that. They never go, oh my God, this virus is deadly. I have to wear a mask 24 hours a day. I have to take my boosters. I can't. But they'll go, and the guy who made it should be in jail. They never do that. Why do you think that is, Kurt?
Okay, because all your friends that don't talk about it, these are people, because alt scene's a lot of nerds, and it's programmed into them from childhood. They're more afraid of being mistaken or wrong, because in their world, there's no forgiveness for that. That's like you're bad and you're out. So having to admit you're wrong is way worse than wearing a mask forever and living in fear. I mean, that's a fact. You know these people.
I know them personally.
Being wrong, they would never forgive you for being, well, they won't forgive you being right.
That's it.
But if you made a mistake and they could catch you in it, they would never let go of it. So that applies to them too. So they'll do this forever.
Okay, so I need you to put that video in the first, the one where he talks about Ralph Barrick. Put that in the first video we did with Jeffrey Sachs. The second video where Trump signed executive order, put the first Fauci video. Okay. All right, over to Steph.
All right, and let's make sure after the show that we get clarification so we're all on the same page, all right,
Yeah.
team? All right, so that'll be a big note. So make those notes, and we'll figure it out after the show. All right, Wilfred Brimley, thank you again. Savage, thank you again. And Autonaut got to it. And Robert Malone and Jeffrey Sachs love the UN. William Kelly.
See, I don't think so.
I'm pained by that idea.
I don't think
Jimmy.
Again, I'll just say it one more time. I hear what you're saying. The UN, by the way, is the most ineffectual body in the history of they can't stop famines. They don't stop genocide. They don't stop wars. They don't do anything. They're completely feckless, and they're worthless.
They're just there to coordinate the world government takeover eventually, and also vice and like creepy things that world leaders like to do. That's what that's there for. It's obviously not going to be a visible authority. They're going to sneakily try to take over all your healthcare through the WHO or something, you know?
But what I think Jeffrey Sachs was saying, that we need a global governance he just wants the countries to come together and agree to not doing gain of function research anymore, because that's at least as deadly, it's more deadly than any nuclear bomb that's ever blown up.
Yeah.
So that, just like we want to have nuclear arms treaties, we want to have gain of function treaties where nobody does it. I think that's what he's advocating for. But maybe I'm wrong.
We'll just violate it. Here's the bottom line.
They'll just violate it anyway. You're right, Kurt.
Whatever it is, this is why I'm like, because I think that guy's really much smarter people than me. I'm like, are you dumb because you still believe in this at all? Like, you know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, we need less or more taxes. They're just to steal the money. Why are you fighting over the nonsense part? A mafia controls your whole thing. They curate what you get to see. It's not hidden. You could just look and find it, okay? They don't got to declassify anything for you to see it, but you aren't going to. And I don't know how long this scam can run. You're going to be worried about some white on black crime thing the media focuses on, and nobody's going to look at this.
Okay, here we go. Event 201 gave away the game plan 2 months before the first case of COVID. I've asked over the years for you to cover it. Solidus. Thank you, Solidus.
What they wanted me to do?
Event 201 gave away the game plan 2 months before the first case of COVID.
I haven't covered it specifically, but we've mentioned it a million times. I get your frustration. No, I mean, there's just so much stuff to cover. You don't think I did a good enough job covering COVID? Who the fuck did a better job covering COVID than the Jimmy Dore Show? We had 5 of our videos taken down for telling the truth, not for lying.
That has an audience.
Right. Yeah. It's right. What YouTube show what media show did a better job covering COVID that has an audience? Kim Iverson did good work.
Yeah, she did great work. Jimmy, somebody was asking, how come you did the story today on YouTube and not just purely on Rumble? Go ahead.
Because I don't. You know what? I probably should have just did it on Rumble, but maybe that was a mistake. But if they come after me for telling the truth about COVID in 2025, I will file a lawsuit. How about that? And I know I'm going up against Google, and but I'm not gonna. It's I've been sticking my chin out the whole time. I've been getting it kicked in left and right. But I also, last night, I did a show in San Jose where 500 people showed up, and they were, I had a guy with tears in his eyes come up to me at the meet and greet after the show, and he said, my little sister got vaccine injured during COVID, and I really, really appreciate you still talking about this and everything you've done. He had tears in his eyes.
Yeah, well, people moved on like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
Like every other war or crime that America does on the regular since before I was born, you just move on to the next crime.
Oh, over to Steph. Read
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for responding. I appreciate that. Solidus, thank you for the comment. Much appreciated. Maybe there was 2 released at the same time coordinated, Richard. That's interesting. Feliz Cinco de Mayo, my_war.
God,
Thank
he
you.
sends
Or
so
should I
much
say
fucking-
gracias? Marco Mata, the great Jimmy Dore ranting like Gerald Salente. Wonderful stuff. Just with facts. Thank you for that one, Marco. King of Pho. Robert Redfield, director of CDC, when the pandemic began, told Dana Parrish there is real possibility that the virus's birthplace was Chapel Hill, calling Barrick the scientific mastermind behind it. King of Pho. All right. Ivermectin.
You haven't read no gong ringing yet?
No. I put ivermectin on my cereal every morning. Talking Head. Thank you, Talking Head. COVID-19 coming from a J3W near you. Savage. Douchey will get a short stop and sudden drop. Savage. Congress needs to get Fauci back and ask him these questions again. He'll likely lie again. Stephen John. And so Trump bans federal funding for dangerous gain-of-function research. That's a good, start for your story too, by the way, Malcolm. I would think gain-of-function and wet markets would be a match made in heaven. Morty Duke. Why not refer to Anthony Fauci as Fanny Ouchie for all the ass ache he caused us? Athabasca. I was just happy when I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, when Trump removed his security from him, when he finally got in office, that Fauci didn't get security any longer from our government. The COVID criminals, he made plenty of money in big pharma that he could pay for his own security. The COVID criminals and war profiteers are the same. They all need to be brought to justice. Peace is the answer. Keep it going. Athabasca. Thank you for that one. That's kind of nice, Zen. Slug Trail, if we allow them to take our freedoms because of emergencies, they'll never run out of emergencies in which to take our freedoms. Slug Trail, that is so true. Rubber Toe.
Okay,
Thank
ready?
you, Rubber Toe. Back to Mr. Jim.